Ruth Chapter 1, The Hanging of Ryloth. The sky of Ryloth burned red as imperial banners fluttered in the wind. The square was silent, save for the slow creak of the wooden scaffolding. A row of children stood with their hands bound, their faces pale with fear. The Galactic Empire had made its decree: resistance would not be tolerated. And for every rebel act, there would be punishment. The Twi'lek families watched helplessly as the imperial governor, Moff Arkin Valen, stepped forward. His voice rang out like steel against stone. Let this be a lesson. The Empire is order. Defiance brings only suffering. With a single nod, the executioner pulled the lever. Snap! Ryloth screamed. But amidst the horror, amidst the raw wailing of broken families, there was one observer who did not weep. She burned. Ruth. She stood at the edge of the crowd, hidden beneath a ragged hood. Her hands clenched so tightly that her nails bit into her skin. The moment the Empire hanged those children, something inside her cracked, then ignited. They would pay. Chapter 2, a name spoken in fear across the outer rim. The name Ruth became a whispered terror. Imperial outposts burned in the night. Governors were found gutted in their beds. Convoys vanished without a trace, their wreckage discovered drifting in space, lifeless, charred, and defaced with a single word carved into the metal: Ruth. She was no mere rebel. No soldier. No martyr, she was vengeance incarnate. No one knew where she came from. Some claimed she had once been an elite imperial assassin, betrayed and discarded. Others swore she was a survivor of a world the Empire had wiped from the stars. The only truth that mattered was that wherever Ruth went, the Empire suffered. Chapter 3, The Empire Strikes Back. Moff Arkin Valen watched the latest reports with growing frustration. The holo footage showed the remains of an elite stormtrooper detachment slaughtered on Corvus Prime. Their helmets had been stacked into a crude pyramid, their bodies left to rot. This has gone too far, he growled. His second-in-command, Captain Ryan Varlo, swallowed nervously. Sir, we've deployed hunter-killer squads. We've increased security tenfold. But she keeps slipping through. Then bring in the Purge Division, Valen snapped. Varlo blanched. The Purge Division was a last resort, dark operatives trained to eliminate existential threats to the Empire. She's one woman, Varlo tried to reason. Valen turned, his gaze cold. She's not a woman. She's a force of nature. And I will see her broken. Chapter 4, A Trail of Blood. Ruth knew they were coming. She had intercepted their transmissions. She had seen the wanted posters with her face, the increasing bounties. The Empire was afraid. Good, she had work to do. Her next target was the Imperial refinery on Yavin 9, a fuel depot critical to the Empire's war effort. Security was heavy. But Ruth was a ghost. She moved through the facility with practiced precision, planting charges, slicing into control panels, and then, the alarms blared. She had miscalculated. A detachment of Purge troopers descended upon her, black armor glinting under the refinery lights. Ruth ducked as blaster bolts seared past her, rolling into cover. She counted at least 10. Too many. She bared her teeth. Perfect. With a flick of her wrist, a blade slid into her palm. She lunged, weaving through the troopers like a specter. Blood sprayed. Limbs fell. The Empire had trained these killers for war, but Ruth had been forged in something far deadlier. Vengeance. By the time the last trooper fell, gasping, Ruth was already gone, vanishing into the night as the refinery erupted into a pillar of fire. Chapter 5, Showdown on Dromund Kaas. The Empire finally cornered her. Dromund Kaas, once the heart of the Sith Empire, now a storm-racked fortress world. It was here, within the depths of the Imperial Citadel, that Ruth would face her greatest enemy, Moff Arkin Valen. She entered the throne-like chamber, her footsteps echoing. Valen stood at the far end, flanked by a squad of his finest soldiers. His lips curled into a smirk. You've been a thorn in my side for too long, he said. But this ends here. Ruth didn't waste time with words. She moved. Blasters roared. The fight was brutal, a whirlwind of steel and fire. But Ruth was faster. Deadlier. The guards fell one by one until only Valen remained. He stumbled back, fear flashing in his eyes. Wait. Ruth's blade pierced his heart. She leaned close, whispering into his ear. This is for Ryloth. As the life drained from his eyes, she pulled her weapon free. The Galactic Empire had taken everything from her. Now, she had returned the favor, but her war wasn't over, not yet, because the Empire still stood and Ruth was far from finished. Epilogue. The war goes on across the stars. Rebels heard the news. The Empire's iron grip had weakened, if only slightly, but it was enough. Hope had a new name, Ruth, and as long as she drew breath, the Galactic Empire would never know peace.